everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Third Shot Podcast. Before we jump into it, we want to make sure that you click follow or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching so that you don't miss any future episodes. You can also take it a step further and follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Third Shot Podcast. We're also on X at Third Shot Pod. And now we can get into it and grab our glasses, do a little toast to kick off the show. Cheers.
One thing for our audience, if there's a topic that you guys, want us to cover or you want us to interview somebody around that topic, please, reach out to us and let us know. We're always looking for entertaining all of you. So if there's a topic you want us to delve into, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
love to hear from everybody. Any suggestions, or maybe you are the one who wants to be on our show to entertain everybody else. So hit us up.
Exactly.
Got to bring the A game, right? If you're gonna be a guest, you got to bring that personality. Which actually is interesting. You both of you, obviously, all three of us, listen to podcasts. Like, what do you
Mhm.
guys listen to? What's entertaining to you on a podcast?
Ooh, well, I've got a couple of go-tos aside from Third Shot Podcast. Like that's number one on my list.
Sure.
And then I have a true crime podcast that I listen to. It's called Morbid, and my sister kind of got me on it because she makes a lot of commutes throughout her day. And so she was like, I found this podcast that you would probably really like. And they just tell all different types of stories, whether it was in America, Canada, like all over the world. They cover different it is morbid, but murders throughout the decades.
These are the real crime, right? These are
They
actual
are.
murders. Wow.
Yep.
Mm.
Wow.
So it's definitely entertaining, a little bit spooky if it's nighttime. But it definitely, Auntie and I are on the same page with the true crime.
Yes. Yes. She doesn't listen to true crime podcasts because she's like on, I think, what's it called, the ID channel? Is that
Yes.
yeah. And then Netflix has a bunch of series on true crime stuff. Yeah, she loves it. She loves it.
Yeah.
It makes me worried a little bit because she's really figured out how to be a fantastic killer and not get caught. She
Uh-oh.
figured this out, right? And it really worried me when I went up and I saw what she was watching one day. It was Wives with Knives.
Oh
Mm.
my
I'm
gosh.
like,
I've seen
oh,
that.
oh, wait a
Yeah.
second, hide the knives in the house. What are you watching this for? This is awful.
For me, I've gone in and out of true crime podcasts. There was that one Serial, the one that came out. It was like that guy that was like in prison that ended up like they let him go. Like that one was fantastic. They'll listen to the whole series on that. I do kind of like these podcasts with a beginning, middle, and end. It's like it's a set season just about one topic, and you can just deep
Oh,
dive into it. Like that's kind of fun. I do like that. But I think my favorite podcast is there's this business podcast, DIY for Business. I don't know if you've heard of it. But that would be the podcast that I listen to the most next
tell
to
me more about
Third
this
Shot.
podcast. Who's on this
It
podcast
sounds
and what
so
do they talk
interesting.
about? Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, of course, Greg and I, we host the DIY for Business. That's a lot of fun. I think that's
Yeah,
a
it is.
great one. We get to deep dive into business with people. So shameless plug there for our own podcast. The other one, like I like the Team Coco podcasts, Conan O'Brien's various podcasts
Really
that he has put out. Like Conan
hilarious.
O'Brien Needs a Friend and some of the other stuff that he's put out. Like I don't know why, but lately, like the last month, I've been really getting into those and listening to a bunch of those podcasts. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Did you I just happened to that made me think about Jim Carrey just had his 50th birthday or something like that.
Mm,
And he had a bunch of comedians together for dinner, and I forgot what he called it, the last laugh or instead of last supper. And yeah, anyway, hilarious. Just
nice.
comedians that
Okay.
are just hilarious. Um, Actually, my daughter just turned me on. I was watching. I think it was called was it the Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix? Did you
Hmm.
you watch that series?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful series. And Mike Flanagan is the writer of it. And she sent me this podcast called Scream Dreams. And what they do is they interview a bunch of people in the entertainment industry and they interview them about like what scares them and what nightmares do they have and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It is
What are
so
some things that maybe is just
so
specific to them because they're celebrities?
okay, so well, Mike Flanagan, I don't know exactly how old he is. I think he's a little younger than I am, but he had this recurring nightmare growing up from the time he was like 5 years old about a Fraggle Rock episode. Do you guys remember Fraggle Rock? I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a
That was my
fun little
sister's
kid show,
favorite,
right?
yeah.
It's a fun, it's not supposed to be scary, but he said there was this one episode where the Fraggles would go into this tunnel and never return. And then finally, I guess one Fraggle made it back out or something like that. But he would have this nightmare about going into this tunnel, and it had this music that he knew when he heard the music in his dream, he was going into this tunnel, and it happened for years and years and years. So, lo and behold, one of the first movies or shorts that he made was about this killer tunnel. So, the nightmare
Huh.
he had as a kid landed up being the reason or the theme around his first production that he did.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's
It was
interesting.
it was really so the other thing that was interesting about this specific episode was and Mike Flanagan didn't even realize this, but they asked him, was like, How what is fear like for you? What are you scared of?" Right? And he goes, "It's change. Like before he had kids, he was scared of like what would happen to him. And
Mhm.
then after he had kids, he was like scared of like what would happen to them." Right? He was like freaked out about it, right? Like like all parents, right? You don't want anything to happen to your kids. So he says, "Yeah, fears changed." And then the host of the podcast said, "Well, that's really interesting because that's the premise of the Fall of the House of Usher because it's about the kids dying before the parents." And he goes, "Oh my gosh. I've written this thing 5 years ago. I produced all this. I never realized the connection. You're blowing my mind right now." I'm like, "Wow,
Interesting.
it's pretty
Full
cool when the
circle,
host of
yeah.
a podcast, is, talking to a guest and makes the guest realize something profound, that went on in their life." So, anyway,
Huh.
I like those types of things where you're interviewing, somebody that you understand kind of the motives behind why they did what they did or they created something.
Mm.
Musicians, like how do they come up with a song or the lyrics?
Right.
I like those types of podcasts.
Do
Yeah,
you 2
those are
prefer
fun.
podcasts that they interview somebody or that they are the ones who are doing all of the talking?
Hmm. Huh. It depends. I mean, there's some hosts that are just pretty darn funny and entertaining. Just in, like as like or maybe like a group of people or something like that that just get together and do a podcast. Um I don't know. I mean, I think I go towards both. I think I lean towards it depends, on the podcast. And it's nice to hear from other people though and get some other voices in there. So the occasional guest is kind of nice,
Mm.
even when it's just the one person.
Well, both of our podcasts, Russ, whether it's DIY or this one, we always have guests.
Right.
Occasionally on DIY, it's just the two of us, but most of the time, it's we have guests. Do you think that some of our audience would rather just like on this show, just the three of us talk for an episode about
Hmm.
what's going on in our lives? Or do you think it's nice to always have a guest because that's what people are expecting?
Well, For me, I think it's actually kind of interesting that we do this kind of open, right? Like I'm not even, I'm in the background for the rest of the show. But we do this little open, which sort of, so it's almost like we've got two episodes in one, where we do get that check-in and learning about like what's going on in our lives and whatnot. And then we go do a guest interview. So I think we've got the best of both worlds here. This might be the greatest podcast ever.
Yep.
Yep.
Probably. And speaking of the best podcast, we are probably number one, but the number one podcast, pickleball podcast in the UK is called Everything But the Kitchen Dink. Very clever. Love that. And Bridgie and I were lucky enough to be on their show a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 months ago now. And we've been trying to get the two hosts. But finally, we're able to coordinate. It's not easy with all these different time zones. But Rob and Andy, host of Everything But the Kitchen Dink, will be joining us to talk about their amazing podcast. Super hilarious and informative. So come on back and meet Rob and Andy. Thanks a lot for hanging out during that quick break. We always appreciate all the support that you're providing us on social media, our Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts, YouTube, X, all of those. Keep looking us up at Third Shot Podcast, except for on X, Third Shot Pod, and give us those 5 stars. That helps us so much. So thank you so much. And Bridgie and I are really, really excited because we got 2 guys, Rob and Andy, who are the hosts of the number 1 pickleball podcast in the UK, Everything But the Kitchen Dink. Welcome, guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Lovely to be here.
I'm so honoured to be, we're both honoured to be guests.
Well, we're very lucky to have the two of you. And before we jump into our questions, we are going to do a little toast to being the number 1 podcast in England. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That is.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers.
Congratulations,
Cheers, everybody.
to that.
Cheers.
Oh, delicious.
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
I won't tell you what was in it.
I just want to say I love you all.
I heard a little bit that there may have been some pre-gaming before this.
There was a bit of
Yes.
pre-gaming.
Well, it's third shot, so that was our third shot.
Oh, then we're gonna have to go. We're gonna go level up. We're gonna go 4th, 5th shot. Some we're gonna get it higher than 3rd shot today.
Spinning a little now.
So the two of you, your partnership is on the court, but also off of the court with your podcast. But how did the two of you meet? Were you longtime friends, or did pickleball bring the two of you together?
Do you want to answer that one?
I mean, long time is an understatement. I think, the very first time is we both had Black Labradors. That was the very first time.
Gosh, that was a
Well,
long time
I
ago.
knew Robert we're both from the same community in Manchester. So I'd known Robert, but we became friends when our wives, of course, the wives control everything. Our wives became friends. And we used to go and visit each other with the dogs, and they didn't live far away. And then they moved they moved where we live now, and we moved on soon after. And that was it. Anything competitive we could find, we have done together as a team.
So the friendship goes back, 25 years?
Yeah, oh my God.
Is it 25?
Yeah, I guess
Wow,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the competitive things that you two have done?
Generally, it always involved sitting on a couch.
With an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have played like table tennis on holidays and things like that.
Yeah, so we go away together and we play table tennis on cruises, and we'd always enter the competitions.
Beanbag toss, anything that's going real.
Yeah. I love that as well. I love the beanbag toss. We call it cornhole over here.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
Cornhole, yeah.
So when did the two of you start playing pickleball together?
I'll let you answer.
Right,
that
well,
one.
the story is that about 2 years ago, I was on a cruise and basically saw, how you get like the itinerary of what's going on the ship. I don't know if you know, but they give an itinerary. They had this thing called pickleball. So I was like, what the hell is pickleball? I've never heard of it. So we went down and I said, I'm here to play pickleball. And they gave us these paddles and a ball. And they basically said, the court's over there, off you go. And I was like, okay. So we got on the court. There was no one else there. And my wife and the kids, we basically hit this ball over a net. And it just was, you know, when something just feels right, it just felt so nice. And
Yeah.
it's hard to explain. So I thought, I love this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the rules. But when I go home, I'm going to Google pickleball and find a club. And that's what I did. And I came home, I found my nearest club, and I just went and turned up on my own. And they were very welcoming there. And that's how my story began. After that, I sort of said to Andy, I've started playing pickleball. He said, yeah, right, whatever.
We actually used to make fun of you.
They used to make fun of me, you know, pickleball, pickle small, whatever. And then I don't know how you ended up coming one.
I think you talked about it so much, and I thought it's coming up to. I think it was coming up to Christmas time, and you know, you always do new things in the new year. So I thought, you know what, I was it was during COVID, and I was going to America in January, and I said after I come back, I'll do it, and so I did.
And then you were hooked.
But I would never. Robert was the brave one. He went and did it on his own. I would never do that. So I had Robert was my safety net.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, how long did it take you, Andy, to fall in love with it?
I mean, I went for this first session, and it was hard because obviously there was a whole range of skill levels there. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the camaraderie immediately. Everybody, and then everybody was coming up to me at the end saying, "Are you coming back?" And you know, I said, you know, of course. I mean, in those days, in the early stages, then I somewhat miss those because they're not the stages where you say, "I'm done with pickleball." You know, it's quite raw and almost enjoyable in those days. Not that I don't enjoy it now, but there was no stress then.
Right.
So I enjoyed it immediately, and I was, you know, it got to the point where if Robert couldn't go, I would go on my own. And
it's interesting.
You know, I loved it
because the first time I went to play and I just turned up, after I'd played and I came away, I was thinking to myself, I don't think I'm going to ever go back again. I think, you know, it was good, but you know, it was just so complicated with the scoring and everything seemed so difficult. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I will go back, give it another go. And I went back and, you know, I've been addicted ever since now.
Yeah.
And it's not just Andy. I've had other friends now who have sort of come into playing pickleball. So I'm spreading the love.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm kind of curious because you said about 2 years ago you started playing. Have you noticed that at the club that you're playing at or within your community that there's a huge growth in popularity? Because here, like, I think 2020 kind of marks the point of like when we had our explosion of pickleball, and it's only grown since. Is it kind of similar over there too?
Yeah, I'd say probably not as much as in the States, but I get Facebook messages, emails, and calls probably a couple of times a week now to say, can we come and play? Where do we play? And unfortunately, because we have our own club now, it's more of an advanced club. And we find it very difficult here to get courts and things like that. So I have to sort of advise people that are just beginning and send them to another club that I know will take people on, which is more of a beginner's club. So we are getting interest more than we ever did. Are we up to the stage of America? Nowhere near at the moment.
Nowhere near. We're probably 5% of what America is. But
yeah,
the weather kills us here. So we're competing for space indoor. There are no pickleball. There's probably one facility that just opened with 3 courts, which is about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
But there are no real, other than that, there's no real pickleball facilities.
We struggle because obviously we don't get the weather here. So everything's indoors. But we're competing with 5-a-side football, basketball, table tennis. You know, the hall's used for everything. We have multi-lines on the court. It's not like we have clear pickleball lines.
Yeah, so we have to tape a kitchen line down as well.
Yeah, so we really do struggle here for indoor space. You know, America is a lot bigger. So real estate over there is easier found than over here.
Also, when the original club we started at, we then found that over time, the skill levels were widening between the top and the bottom. So you had the good players didn't want to play with the newer players, but the newer players wanted to play to get better. So it became a real problem in the club. So that's why we left, and we set one up more local to ourselves. But our initial plan was to have new players and train people up, and we just haven't got the space for it.
So do you feel that the limitations on facilities is going to limit the growth of the sport in the UK?
Well, yes, in a nutshell, yes, because there's only so many places we can actually play indoor here. Most of those are schools who have a sports hall. We don't have, we're not vast here with land and stuff where we can go and build a pickleball centre. If we want to make it, our dream is to open a pickleball centre over here, but it's so expensive to do that we just can't do it.
If anybody, any of your listeners, are thinking, the demand, let me tell you, the demand is huge. We could open one in Manchester here.
Oh yeah, be full every day.
It would be full every day, and people will be joining. And Manchester's quite a big city, as in Greater Manchester. There are lots of, it's a huge population, and I think people would travel. People travel to our club on a Tuesday and Thursday now, an hour away.
Wow.
So if anybody's listening and wants to get in the UK market, I'm hoping that once somebody builds a franchise pickleball centre, I'm hoping that'll start the ball rolling, because there are lots of, who's playing badminton anymore? And tennis is not massive here because of the weather, and it's very elitist. You've got to be paying, £100 a month to a tennis club to play. So there is a market here.
There is, but the problem we do have is the rent and the rates here are so expensive. To have an 8,000 square foot place, that's what's basically putting people off at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hear that offer and I see Uncle's face, and he's sitting over there with his.
My brain is just going, how do I make this happen with you guys? We're going to partner up. Oh my goodness.
Do. Well, I read an article that 6 friends in America built a pickleball place, didn't they? It came up on one of my feeds that 6 friends got together and they opened this massive pickleball place in the States. We need to do that here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're popping up all over, and I think we'll book our flights.
Yeah.
Get us over
Absolutely.
there.
The thing is, I think the first person that does it properly over here, they're the ones that are going to win, because they'll fill it every day.
Yeah, you put 9-10 courts in there, it is going to be full all the time, because there's nothing else.
Yeah, we struggle.
Right. Well, when Bridgie and I come over for the English Open, we're going to start scouting real estate.
That'll be amazing.
Oh, wow.
I'd love you to come over for that.
Well, you'll have to stay in Manchester for a week beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deal.
Yeah. Don't twist our arms.
Just bring an umbrella, that's all.
So you two have been playing together for quite some time now. When did you decide to do a podcast? Like, what sparked that idea? Was one of you a podcaster?
We've been discussing doing a podcast for probably 5 years. Not about pickleball, but we just wanted to do a podcast.
Okay.
And we never found the right thing for us to actually do.
No.
Until pickleball came about, and then it was just a natural progression of, okay, this is it. We're going to do a podcast now. We can talk about pickleball all day long because we're so passionate about it. And it was just, we
were talking about it all day, every day.
Yeah.
And then our original club, we used to drive an hour and drive an hour back. So it was all we would talk about, and we would just constantly be laughing with each other. So it was just really a natural progression. We've not had any broadcasting experience. But we thought, what the hell, we'll be open and honest.
And I think we're different to most podcasts out there because we have a laugh. We're not, very straight-laced. We talk about all topics. We talk about our lives, and we just enjoy
talk about
it.
The journey, which people can relate to. And, if you want to come and get technical advice and how to play, you can get that anywhere.
Right.
So we just want people to have we just want to have a laugh, really.
Yeah. And you share the joy of the game, and
exactly.
and your journey. It's kind of what Bridgie and I do, and I think that's why the 4 of us have really bonded, because you were nice enough to have us on your show a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to get you on our show for the longest time. I'm just curious, like, you have a number of guests. Is there anybody that stands out besides Bridget and I, obviously? But is there anybody that stands out that was like really fun that you really enjoyed talking to, or you learned a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. Straight
Yeah.
away, there is one person who I love talking to, and we've had her on a few times, and that is Lee Whitwell. I don't know if you've come across Lee.
Yeah.
She is one hell of a character, and a great ambassador for the sport, and absolutely love talking to her. She's so funny, and you can have a real good laugh with her. So we love getting Lee on the show. Yeah. Anyone else you can think of?
Yeah, I think the only other one that springs to mind is
Karen.
From
Yeah.
she runs Pickleball England, so it's great. We take our frustrations out on her, about lack of tournaments. And she gets us, and it's great to be in there and sort of get the scoop on some of the things coming up, and she understands us and we understand her role.
Yes,
and it's a totally voluntary role, and
she's amazing. She's
yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Without her, we wouldn't be where we are today as Pickleball England.
Yeah.
Well,
so they're the two.
Before we started recording this episode, we were talking off air about tournaments and what it's like out there. And you just mentioned that the lack of tournaments. Can you share with our guests kind of what's going on over there in regards to tournaments and maybe what you're hoping to see that's not so much there at this time?
So tournaments in the UK are quite sparse. We have the English Open, we have the English Nationals. They're the main two in a year. Apart from that, we have these team events that we've been going to,
they're only new.
Yeah, they're quite new. They've cropped up over the last year. So we've been putting a team together. It's 2 guys, 2 ladies, and basically you play sort of as a gender, and then you play mixed games as well. One of them was rally scoring. I don't know if you've ever played rally scoring, which is interesting because we'd not played rally scoring before, and I hate it. And there's a big, I absolutely hate it.
Why do you hate it?
I'll tell you why I hate it. Because I find that I play within myself, because every point matters in rally scoring. It's not like you have 2 serves. So you mess one up, you hit the net, okay, you've got another serve. With rally scoring, you don't. The other team get the point. You hit the net, your serve's out, whatever, they get the point. So you end up playing a very safe game, and you play more within yourself because you don't want to make mistakes. So I think if I played rally scoring as a regular thing, I get used to it. But because it was just a one-off for an event, I found it very difficult.
But then that comes back to lack of tournaments, where we go to these tournaments, and I was saying before we were on air that it's an open age, but also it's a kind of pressure environment that we don't have enough of. So some of these players, that the clubs are fantastic, and but we will have a pressure situation like that, and then not have one for a couple of months, and not have one for another couple of months. So we need to be going to tournaments every few weeks. And I think that's the problem we face. And I don't think there's enough people who are willing to put the time and effort into it.
Now, another thing is that there are loads of tournaments within Europe. They're cropping up all the time in Spain, in Holland. In
Belgium, there was one.
Belgium. I'm actually doing one in May. I'm going for the first time. I'm going abroad and playing in the Dutch Open. So without Andy as well. So
who's going to be your doubles partner? Are you just playing singles, or what are you doing?
I have a doubles partner.
He goes with my good blessing, because it's my daughter's 21st.
Yes,
that weekend.
So he could make it.
Believe me, I thought long and hard about ditching her for a 21st. but ultimately, I'm a good
You can't
guy.
help her celebrate in Belgium?
Yeah, right. Take her with you.
So he's going with my blessing.
Yeah, so it's going to be an eye-opener. I'm playing with someone new, and but it'll be interesting to see how they run things over there. It'll be a different experience.
Yeah.
There are loads of competitions happening in Europe all the time. But obviously, it's travel, it's expense. You've got to stay over. You've got flights. It all adds up. So, yes, it's great, but we need more in the UK.
And I'll be interested as well when Robert reports back, because I'm not convinced. I think the UK is ahead of any European country. So I'm not convinced that the standard will be as high as the English Open or the English Nationals, but that remains to be
Yeah,
seen.
we don't know. It's an unknown at the moment.
So neither of you have played outside of the UK as far as Europe goes?
No.
Well, we played in America because my
Yeah.
wife's American, so I go
Yeah,
over
you went
to
to
Florida,
But not competitively.
but not competitively.
Just rec play.
Yeah, but we go in the summer where basically you might as well be playing pickleball on the surface of the sun. And especially as we're from a colder climate, you know, when it hits 70 occasionally in the summer here, we're melting, we can't sleep, it's terrible. And, you know, I play there every morning and it's sort of 89 degrees at 8 in the morning. So we've had some experience of that. Robert came a couple of years ago and he had to go and sit in the car after 10
I had to go and
minutes.
sit in the car with the AC on. It was like ridiculous. He took me in the
Whoa.
hottest time of the day.
He didn't get there till the afternoon, so we went at 2 in the afternoon, which is, strangely enough, there were 3 courts.
So besides the weather difference, like, did you notice a level of play difference between the players between UK and America?
I have to let you know on that because I
Yeah.
managed one game before I was melting.
Yeah, but I played. That was the year before, and I went last summer, and I played quite a lot. I went to the Diadem Centre, and the standard was really good. I played with a friend who was a tennis player, so he had a group of friends, and the standard was good. I felt it was really good for me, but also I'm playing people who can just go on the court and drill every morning if they want to. So their game is much better, and so I'm hoping when we go out together.
Which we are doing. We're going out to the States in August, so we're going to have a real good session when we're out there.
Yeah.
Are you
Awesome.
doing
Are you going to Florida?
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
I have to go I mean, when I say I have to, I love going there, but obviously my mother-in-law is there, so I have to go. So obviously I'll be playing pickleball as much as I can.
Does she not play pickleball yet, maybe?
No, please don't mention that to her.
She might be the only one in Florida that doesn't play pickleball. I think everybody else
yeah.
does.
That's possible. What I love about there is that there's so many courts in these developments that you don't even live in, but if they don't have security on, you just go to the courts, you don't live there, but nobody knows. That's the beauty of it. There's so much court availability.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to hear a different perspective on it because we, like, living in America, are experiencing the problem of, like, there's not enough courts. So you'll ask anybody that you go to here and they'll say, you know, we don't have enough facilities, but that's just because there's so many people out there who are wanting to play.
Yeah.
Like there's a complex in Vegas that has, I think, 23 courts.
Oh, wow.
It's packed all
Oh
the
my God.
time and we can't even get on at some point. So you get like 2 or 3 games in a 2-hour span.
Wow.
But the competition is also really great. So, you know,
Yeah.
I
But
think
Robert, I don't know if you're going to be able to enjoy that because it's 100 degrees there.
I'm going to play.
Yeah.
I said to Andy that basically I'm playing indoors at the Diadem Centre. I am not going outside.
But also we play at 7:30 in the morning, so it is better if it's cloud coverage, which in the summer there is a lot of cloud coverage. It's not so bad.
Yeah, so we might play early.
Yeah.
We'll get a few games in.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Without me melting.
Yeah, when you were saying that, my mouth was like dropping open to hear that 70 degrees is hot and melting over there because out here it gets up to like 120 and there's still people out there playing.
Well, we don't
middle of
have
the
air
day.
conditioning in this country because we don't
need
it.
it, no. So whenever we get a bit of heat here, we have all the fans on. It's like you can't sleep because of the noise of the fans.
Yeah, and it's
You know,
and you turn them off, it's too
hot,
It's just it's awful.
Yeah. But we don't get that for very long, do we?
No,
we get a couple of weeks a year and that's it. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's
So
much
what do you
different.
think the future is for pickleball worldwide and in UK specifically? I mean, I think it's, you know, we have a perspective in America, but I want to hear what your perspective is and how do you think it's going to grow, or do you think it's going to continue growing?
I do. I mean, you know, more and more people I speak to, like this morning I spoke to somebody about some court availability and I mentioned it was pickleball. I'm almost embarrassed to say, you know, I always say I just want a badminton court, and then they ask me what it's for, and I'm hesitant. And then but they are saying, "Oh yeah, I know what it is." And when I went down there to visit to have a look, and you know, they said, "Yeah, I've heard of pickleball." Now we weren't getting that a year ago,
Okay.
and I think, you know, Karen at Pickleball England keeps telling us that the registrations are going up, and not everybody knows about registration, so it might be double what the registrations are. But as for the future, it keeps growing. But I think we need facilities. We need more.
Well, without the facilities, we can't grow.
Yeah.
Because we're already outgrowing the sports halls that we've got here, and we find it so difficult to get courts, you know, already. So the only way forward is pickleball facilities. For me, that's the only way we can sort of carry on and meet the demand.
I think also, you know, if you remember, for the Gladiator event, we were talking to people and they were saying, yeah, we play 3 times a week and then we have a drilling session for 3 hours on a Saturday. And, you know, we're crying inside because, you know, maybe it's, you know, in London, they seem to have a lot more availability. And we're almost at the mercy of some person who has the power to take it further for us.
There are people, I know there are people in the background working on things and looking at opening dedicated places. So it is going to happen. It just can't happen soon enough for us, but it will happen. I would love to be the first one to do it properly over here. So I'm waiting for you, Uncle.
No pressure.
No
Woo.
pressure.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that you two having a podcast out there and continuing on pursuing pickleball definitely helps grow that community. And just, you know, the more popularity and people behind it, the more likely it is to happen. So hopefully Uncle gets out there and opens up a pickleball facility for you all.
Amazing.
You'll be a millionaire if you do.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
You're not already.
so seriously, you know what has really helped the pickleball in America is the Pro Tour, right? The PPA, the APP events, and those getting broadcasted on television or YouTube. I mean, they're all over the place, right? You can find them anywhere now. And I was just wondering, there's no Pro Tour.
Yeah, we do have a pro. What do they call it?
It's like a pickleball, Franklin Pickleball
Pro.
League.
Yeah, so we do have a
It's
pro.
not pro as in
Well,
they're not full time.
They're not
They've
full-time
got day
pros,
jobs.
yeah. But that's the best we have at the moment. And they're actually just introducing next year a senior one over 50s, which we are hoping to get into, which will be amazing. So, you know, that'll be great for us.
But that level is never going to be broadcast. And when we have the English Open, as you'll see when you come here, on the Thursday before, they have a team event with international teams. Oh, okay. And the Americans always wipe the floor with everybody, you know, 11-1, 11-0. And that's the difference between our sort of pro and their level.
Yeah, it's a different standard, you know, but it is what it is. We've only got what we've got over here. We can't, you know, as we said before, we haven't got the luxury of drilling every night and playing every day and having the weather, and, you know, so we do our best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does make a difference. But
hopefully
that pro tour comes and the senior pro, because we would love to watch you. I'm sure they'd at least put it on YouTube for us to see.
No, you don't want to watch us. I wouldn't recommend.
So what do you have in store for your podcast coming up? You know, we're entering a new year. Are there any plans for any changes for your podcast?
Well, this week will be our 50th episode, which is
hey, congratulations.
Yeah,
thank you. So we're at half a century. Regarding changes, I think we're just going to carry on doing what we do.
We need to go more on the social media. I mean, we're in our 50s. We're busy.
Yeah,
you know, we don't post enough. We don't publicize enough, and I think we probably need to do that.
Yeah, and we're going to have more guests on the show. We have a few lined up, so that's going to be good. But as far as the podcast goes, I think, you know, we just enjoy doing what we do. We have a great time doing it.
Yeah, we do. And I always think that, you know, after we've done one, I think, well, what am I going to say next week? And by the time that next week comes, my notes are just full. With stuff.
Yeah. How do you come up with the topics, or how do you find your guests?
Well, I feel like I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I walk around, like, obviously not with a notepad anymore because I've got my phone, and I'm constantly
Because
putting
I
notes
think
in.
because we spend quite a lot of time together, whenever we're in the car and we say something and we're laughing, that's going in, that's going, So we've always got things going on, and I think that helps, because we're together a lot. So, and we're always having a laugh. So we've always got content, and there's always something happening within the week at Pickleball that we think, oh, you know what, we'll put that in. That's interesting to talk about. There's always stuff, so we don't run out. We never run out.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who may not have had a chance yet to listen to your podcast or to watch it because it's on YouTube, where
Well,
can
we going back to our age, we started YouTube and then it sort of went by the wayside. But we're going to restart it up with just YouTube Shorts, basically.
Good.
We're just a bit terrible technical wise, and we're not lucky enough to have a producer.
Yeah,
we are very lucky.
to have
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
send him over.
But for everybody that wants to listen to this show, what podcast platforms are you on? And please tell everybody the name of the show again.
Okay, so we're everything but the Kitchen Dink. We are on Spotify and Apple. We do have an Instagram, ebtkd.podcast. Now, it took me about 50 episodes to be able to say ebtkd.podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the 3 shots I've had.
We do have a Facebook page as well.
Yeah. So we are going to move forward with the social media. It's just, it's difficult. Robert's got a couple of jobs and I've got my own business.
And I'm coaching now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm a level 2 IPTPA coach as well. So I'm doing that quite a lot now.
I'm so proud of him. So it's just sometimes, we're just so busy. We watch the football here as well. So, that cuts into it as well. And Robert's always ill. That doesn't help. So, we are going to, that's our aim for 2024, apart from being able to wear a white T-shirt comfortably.
Well, we're at 50. We want to get to 100 episodes.
Yes.
That's the next milestone. So we're just going to keep it going.
Yeah.
So everyone out there, listen to EBTKD.
Yeah.
If you want
to have a good laugh, just give us a listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I highly
It is a
encourage
great
it.
show.
It is a great show. We enjoyed being on. It was so much fun.
We loved having you. We loved having you.
We're so grateful for the connection we have with you.
Yeah,
honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's toast to the next 50 shows.
Oh.
We gotta do a first. We gotta do fourth shot.
1 second.
Okay.
Oh yeah, top it off.
Yeah, we gotta do this the right way here, right?
What are you guys drinking?
You don't
we don't want to know.
Oh really? Good stuff.
Yeah,
huh?
we'll say whiskey, but basically it's a drink that
at the end of it,
our grandmothers would have had a drink of if they were still alive.
It's sherry. Okay, it's sherry.
Sweet sherry.
Sweet sherry.
Well,
yeah.
Sweet sherry.
Yeah.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to
Cheers.
you guys.
Everything but the Kitchen Dink. Wonderful show.
Lovely. Oh, it's lovely.
Oh,
Now that was the great way to end this episode. We really appreciate you, both of you, coming on and making.
Oh, we loved it. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
We love you guys.
We love you guys too. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
And do let us know if you're coming over to the UK.
We will.
We will start planning.
Well, the Open has actually been announced. It's
in August, but I can't remember the date now.
Well, I can remember the date because it's my wife's 50th. So I've had,
Oh man, every tournament happens on a birthday in your family.
Exactly.
I know. So I'm sort of trying to be nice and working in a couple of conversations, and I think I'll be okay. I'm trying to use all my charm I've got. So I think I think I'll be okay, but I won't be able to sleep over, and it's 2 hours away. So I'm probably if we get a 9 o'clock start, I'll have to get up pretty early.
Oh yeah.
But I'd rather be there than not.
Well, hopefully Bridgie and I can either join you, watch you, do something, but we'll definitely be talking through the rest of the year and
Definitely
figuring out how we can get over there and visit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have you back on as well.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Definitely. Good to talk to you guys.
Good talking to you, and thanks
Yeah.
again for coming on. And for all of our audience that's listening right now or watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Our goal is to make sure that we continue to have fantastic guests like Rob and Andy from Everything But the Kitchen Dink podcast. Please go check it out. You will definitely have a laugh. You will enjoy it. And, please keep supporting us. I mentioned earlier 5 stars. We love the 5 stars. And you know what? Google does too. So please give us the 5 stars. And we'll continue to have wonderful guests like Rob and Andy. And we will continue to share our journey. We want to continue to grow this pickleball community, and let's just keep doing it together. So see you next time on Third Shot Podcast.